Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, I had the great pleasure of speaking with Anastasia Arus. If you did not get a chance to tune into that episode, please do. I had a wonderful conversation with her about how to support families of special needs kids, including siblings. So if you didn't get a chance to tune into that episode, please do. I appreciate it so much. And thanks again, Anastasia, for being on the show. I really appreciate you. This week, I am super excited, and I have the great pleasure of having Mr. Craig Parks on the show today. Craig is the founder of Parenting Harmony and a dedicated parent with 2 children, including a 20-year-old son on the autism spectrum. With decades of experience navigating the highs and lows of parenting, Craig created the Parenting A to E course to empower parents with mindfulness, music, and playful techniques to reduce stress and build joyful memories. His mission is to turn the mundane moments of parenting into meaningful ones. Please welcome Mr. Parks to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, you can call me Craig. The whole Mr. Parks thing doesn't.
Okay, I'll just call you Craig then. I'm so happy that you're on the show. I feel like this has been such a long time coming for us because we spoke quite a while ago. But I knew I wanted you on the show immediately just because I love what you're doing for families and what you've created for your family. And I think it'll be really valuable for our listeners. So thanks again for being here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. Definitely.
Yes. So let's just jump right in. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to start Parenting Harmony.
So I've been working with kids for over 30 years. I'm a professional musician. I've started 2 summer camps. I've hired and trained so many people how to work with kids, and I've run parenting groups as well. Parenting groups for parents of teens. I've run groups for parents who have kids with special needs. And certainly becoming a parent myself just opened up a whole new world beyond just working with kids. You know, it's a whole nother universe when you become a parent yourself.
Oh, and
then right. And then our first kid, my son Jonah, is on the autism spectrum, and he got diagnosed very, very early. And so it was a whirlwind. You know, you have these dreams and you think you know what it's going to be like to be a parent, and then all of a sudden, like, I didn't even think that would happen. And then
a total another dynamic. Yeah, it just kind of comes right into play. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like, your world is dominated by occupational therapists and speech therapists and behavioral therapists and specialists of all kinds. And in that journey, beyond my own experience, getting to learn from really incredible people as well, and then having a lot of kids with special needs in my camps that I ran. I realized, wow, you know what? Beyond all this music that I've done with my own children to make my own family home much more joyful and memorable.
Yes.
I've also, in terms of like all the camps and all the kids, I realized I want to help beyond the music. I want that to be a part of it, but all the things I've learned, I could take the best of my 35 years of experience and teach parents, because there's no manual, right? And I know a lot of parents lack confidence. They're insecure. They're not sure how to go about the journey.
Yes.
And, you know, if I could be of any help, and then certainly my own childhood was filled with, to some degree, a real wanting more from my parents. And my parents are awesome and they're loving and they're sweet. But like, my dad worked often 7 days a week. I didn't see him much. And I knew that when I became a parent, I wanted to be really present, and I wanted to be there, and I wanted my kids to be able to look back on their childhood and not think like I have, like, oh, I wish I had more memories with my dad. You know, I want them to look back and be like, oh my gosh, we had so much fun and joy, even in the mundane. And that's the thing too, is that most of parenting is the mundane. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, we could take
Yes.
right. I mean, we could take them to Disneyland, but we're not taking them to Disneyland every day. That's
No.
not
Yeah.
happening,
No.
right?
Yeah.
So most of every day is all right. The diaper changes, making sure they're washing their hands, making sure they're waking up, make sure they're getting dressed, bedtime, bath time, just all of those
Yeah.
mundane things. And my thing is, how do we make that memorable and how do we make that joyful so
Hmm.
that when we're building our relationships with our kids, um, it's deep and it's joyful and it's connecting.
That's so awesome. And I think you bring up such a valid point because we do kind of get siloed into that everyday schedule of things and we're, running around and we're wearing all these other hats. And so it is mundane because you just feel like you're in a permanent Groundhog's Day sometimes. At least I have felt that way. So I know you created something called Parenting A to E. How does that empower parents to create those joyful memories and moments with their kids?
Well, so I know that title, like 80, is like, wait, doesn't it go to Z?
I know.
So the A,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. So hopefully it creates a little bit of curiosity. So the
Yeah.
the A stands for the A stands for affect, and we want our affect, which is basically the most basic example of affect is we have our body and we have our voice, and it's
Hmm.
how we use it. It's our tone of voice. It's where we position our bodies in space. Um, and that's what our affect is. We could have big affect, we could have low affect, we could have just even keeled affect, both with our
Hmm.
body and our voice. And so much of my success in working with kids and with my own children was understanding how do I master my affect so that
Hmm.
I can build the kind of effect, right? The effectiveness, and that's the E,
Hmm.
is if we want to be effective in building a deep, joyful, loving, trusting relationship with our kids, we have to master our own affect. And so my course teaches affect, teaches how to use every aspect of our body, our face, our shoulders, our hands, our arms, our legs, where we position our body, and our voice, how we can use the maximum ability to go high, low, pitch, all of that. And then so that's the first module of the course, is teaching affect. And then the second module is these 14 songs for the everyday moments, like washing your hands or bedtime or giving a bath. Um, and and I'm going to be doing one of the songs in there too, because the special needs part is also important. Given that I've worked with a lot of kids with
Hmm.
special needs. My son is on the spectrum, and I want to help create a world that's filled with more compassion and understanding. And so music is also one of the most powerful memory making devices that we humans have. And
Hmm.
so when we ritualistically put music to the mundane, you're talking about, yeah, it's like the slog.
Yeah.
But I was just talking to one of the parents I work with just actually yesterday, and he was telling me that his little boy now like demands the hand washing song every time they wash their heads after that, right? So now there's this really joyful like connection just with washing hands, right? I mean,
Right.
how many of us will look back on our childhood and be like, yeah, washing hands was such a great time with my parents, but this little boy
Yeah.
will have like this really happy song associated with, oh yeah, my mom and dad used to sing rub 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 the front, and so,
I
so
know, which it does make it fun. Yeah. It makes it fun. And
right, and
sometimes I
so
don't think that we don't show up in a good way, like it's, and not in a negative way either. I think sometimes like what you're talking about, the affect is so important because, kids pick up on that. And I realized that early on that he picks up on my body language and how my mannerisms and all the things that I'm doing. So I think you bring up a really valid point because they are highly, highly intuitive, highly intuitive. Yeah.
oh, they sense every bit of our energy. I mean, if we think back of our own childhood, think about when we were around our parents. We knew when they were a little tense. We knew when they were in a good mood. We
Yes.
felt it. And they
Yes.
and if we remember that, we have to realize our children feel our energy
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And
Absolutely.
that's why I want to help parents to one understand that, because I want all of us to enjoy the journey, because before we know, I mean, I can't believe my son he's 21 years old now.
Yeah.
And it's like we blink and they're like grown up and they're out of the house. And my daughter is already, she's going to be turning 11 in July. And I'm I'm like, oh, how did that happen?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's like it just it you blink, you feel like you blink and it's there. Like I feel that way about Drayson. He just turned 13, and I'm like, when did I? What now? How is he a teenager now? And he's taller than me. So how did that happen too? Like he's already towering over me, and I'm shocked. It's like I'm like, where did I miss this? It's like I just blinked and it was there. So I 100% agree with what you're saying right now because it goes by so, so fast. And I think creating those memorable moments with the mundane is such a good way to look at how you're organizing and creating things within your household too. To just have it's still structure, but it's positive structure. You know, it's like it's
right,
fun.
right.
It's more, and it kind of maybe for us too as parents, I would think that these parents are also experiencing that they tap in back into kind of their childlike mentality as well when they're singing these songs with their kiddos, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, it it's so much fun. Like the scrub in the tub. Like you take an ordinary thing like just like bathing your kid, like, all right, let's do it. But all of a sudden you have this really fun song and they're smiling and they're laughing and it's and laughter is so contagious. I think it's actually not talked about enough in the parenting world, like
Yeah.
the power of laughter as well. Laughter and music. It actually creates, all the great chemicals in our
Yeah.
body that has us feel more bonded and more love.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, there is, there's lots of scientific evidence on that. And I love how you're bringing music into also helping with that memory recall because there is a connection with that. And I think that that's fantastic because that's something that I never thought of early on when Drayson was much younger. I never thought about that. It was get him to the therapies, OT, speech, all of these things, right? But you don't think about maybe just having fun in the everyday balance of life. And I think that it's a great perspective and message that you're bringing because it took me a long time to start having a little bit more fun. I wasn't that person right away that was exactly how you're coaching parents. I probably would have been one of your best clients early on, but so can you share a few simple examples of how parents can use their tone, their body language, or their presence to create a more trusting connection with their kiddo? Because we were talking about the affect, right? The A in your program
Yeah.
of basically how you're showing up. Can you give a few simple examples of how parents can use that?
Sure, sure. Like, let's take something as mundane as just waking up in the morning, right? If you have to get your kids
Yeah.
up, if you could just go into their room and just kind of like, come on, time to get up,
Yeah.
come on, time to get up,
Yeah.
or you could you could do something like, ooh, I think the sun is peeking out. Right, that's one thing you could do. But I also have a wake up song, and it starts with this bass line. So I'd often go into my daughter's room, and I would just start, playing my air bass, like, doonga dooga dooga doo doonga dooga 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 doo. Wake up, wake up, it's breakfast time this morning, and all this, it's like, and she knows that song, and she will always know that song, right?
Yeah.
Because like every morning, like we would have that as a wake up song, and that's the other aspect of it is ritualizing things.
Hmm.
If you really want your children to have great childhood memories, music is a way to do it, and it's
Hmm.
guaranteed if you do it ritualistically. Like if I had just done that just one day and I'd never sung that ever again, it would be a lost memory, right?
Right.
But because it was a ritual, right? It
Yeah.
was done all the time. And I was thinking back to my first grade year, and this is really what helped me realize this. Like, who remembers the day to day of your first grade year, like what you did, on Tuesday and some day in October? Probably none of us do, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
the one thing I do remember about my first grade year is that dear sweet Mrs. Andrino, she would always at the end of every day ended the day with the same song. And I realized, oh my gosh, I remember this song. And
That is
all
so
these years,
funny.
decades and decades and decades later, I still remember, goodbye, everybody. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I was 5 or 6 years old, and here I am, still remembering this song. And I realized if she had just sung that once, I wouldn't remember that song, but she did it as a ritual. And now
Yeah.
I remember that. I'm like,
It's
I
funny.
could
My
use that.
my mom would do that. My mom would sing to me sometimes, and I remember as I got into being a teenager, I found it. I started to get like annoyed, like, oh, here comes mom, like I could hear her, and so. But I did. It's so funny as you're saying this. It triggered a memory for me with my mother. Like my mom used to come in and sing "Rise and Shine," and she'd start singing, and I'd be like, I remember thinking, okay, mom, I'm getting up. But I have such a fond memory of that. And I also have a fond memory of my dad pouring water on me too when I wouldn't wake up early in the morning, but that's a different story. So, but yeah, I do have fond memories of that. So thanks, mom and dad. But I think that it's amazing that you're bringing that to light, because I think as we get older, we forget about the simplicity of those things. I mean, just when you're saying that right now, I'm like, oh my God, my mom used to sing to me. And how did I not remember that? I come into the room every morning when I wake up, Drayson, and I say, rise and shine. And I'm like, time to wake up, angel baby. I call him my angel baby. Well, now that he's hitting teens, it's really funny because he'll say, don't call me an angel baby. I'm not an angel baby. You're right. You're not. You're acting like spawn of Satan right now, but I'm going to still call you my angel baby. you know and I hope that those are little things that I do hope he remembers, that those little terms of endearment or the songs or things like that. So it's thank you, because you just sparked that memory for me even within my own childhood, and I didn't, I totally forgot about it. It's been buried, all this time.
Wow. See, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really powerful. I talked about my dad earlier, how he worked so hard, but one of the memories I do have is associated with music, because he used to put me up on his shoulders and he'd pop on the Beatles or the Who and we would
Yeah.
just go like dancing around the house, and I'd
Yeah.
be little Craig on his shoulders, and it
Yeah.
inspired me to write a song called "Dancing on Daddy's Shoulders," which I sang with my kids, and my daughter will always remember when she was little, I would sing and dance with that song, and that's actually a song that any of your listeners can get just for free if they want to go to Parenting Harmonies, and
Oh, that's so
and I have a
cool.
video explaining how to maximize the connection of that song. And if you're a mom, you could change it to
That's so
"Dancing on
cool.
Mommy's Shoulders," or yeah.
Yeah. No, we were a music family. My dad was a drummer in college, and same thing. I have memories of my dad like beating on the dashboard in the car while we were singing. Like he'd be singing and he'd be using the dashboard as like drums. I have a lot of memories of dad doing that. And it's funny because I never really thought about music being so relational for me, but you're triggering a lot of childhood memories. I feel like I'm going to have to call my parents after this and be like, thanks for the memories. So thanks, mom and dad, if you're listening today, like, thanks. Um, so I know we've kind of talked about the ATE course. And I know that, you also have your recordings of your music, you said too. And that's incorporated in the course that you have. Is that correct? You said 14 songs. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
the course is really designed to turn the mundane into the memorable, and to reduce the stress of parents and
Okay.
increase the smiles. So is
Yes.
really what it's about. And so the first module teaches affect and how to use the totality of your body and voice. The second module is the 14 songs, and then the third module are these 10 screen-free activities that where
Okay.
you can use your affect and just have really, really fun activities to do with your kids that are
Yeah.
just proven to be great and fun. So, and then I've got some bonus material like bedtime routines and bath time routines. And then I have a piece of prose that I wrote called The Glider. And
Yes.
I don't know why, but Nikki, when we had to get rid of the glider that I had like rocked both my children on, and there's 10
Yes.
and a half years between my two kids. And so
Yeah.
we had that glider a lot of years, and
Yeah.
there were so many memories. And when my wife was like, okay, we got to get rid of this, I was more like, no. And so
Yeah.
I ended up, the day we got rid of it, I ended up writing a piece of prose called The Glider from the perspective of the glider.
Oh,
And I
wow.
put it on Facebook years ago, and like everybody was so moved to tears by it. And
Yeah.
really the point of that is to get us really present to how fleeting time is. And so that
Yes.
we parents want to like let's get present with our kids, because it's
Yeah.
so easy. Like you were talking about this earlier. You were wearing a lot of hats, and it's so easy to just like do the stuff without being present.
Yeah.
Like my 4-year-old is in front of me right now, and they're not going to be 4 forever. They're not going
Yeah.
to be 8 forever. They're not going to be 13 forever.
Yeah.
So the course and everything in there is designed for presence, for joy, for connection, and for turning the mundane into sweetness and
Yeah.
memory making.
I think that's just so unbelievable. And I think you're such a testament to, really remembering those moments and kind of getting back on the ground floor level, so to speak, of, just getting back to really grassroots about what life is really about, the connection, and especially with your family, especially with your kids, is the connection, because I know that that's what all parents want. And I know that that's what kids want too. But like you said, I think we get very siloed into the everyday grind of things that, by the end of the day, I'm like, is everybody good? Everybody's fed, clothed, bills are paid, electricity's still on. And, I made it to the end of the day and now I'm going to go to bed. Like, it's like, you kind of run through that whole scenario. Like, did I get
Yeah,
everything done today? You're running that checklist in your head. And it's like, you can still do those things, but just even taking that pause and that moment to really just connect, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. And
yeah,
I think people think it's going to take this huge amount of time. And I don't feel that way from what you're describing. And from what I've experienced too, is by opening up those moments with Drayson, you know?
yeah. Well, thank you for mentioning that, because that's the thing that I want parents to understand is that, like, my course is not adding more to what
Yes.
they're already doing. It's taking what you're already doing and making that actually less stressful and more
Yeah.
joyful and more connecting and more relational.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to give your little kid a bath. Like, you know,
You have to do
let's
it
make that
anyway.
actually. Yeah. So if you, right, you're going to do it anyway. So if you have a choice of making that a memory making event and joyful and connecting between you and your child, or just another thing you have to get through, why not choose it to be present and have it be joyful through music and through touch and through all of the things that really make parenting hopefully fun and joyful.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. So, well, I know that you have a song that you're going to sing, but before we get to that, because I'm really excited about that, like I'm very, very excited. If you had to leave our audience, with one parenting mantra or a piece of advice, what would that be?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot, because there's so much
I
that
know
all of us parents,
it's
I
a
mean,
loaded
we're
question.
really,
I do realize that.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I also realize that, for parents who might be listening to me, like, I just want to make sure that we all understand that none of us are ever going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. And and then there's a couple things. So one is, taking care of our own well-being is really, really vital, and it's not
Yes.
selfish. It's
Yes.
because if we are regulated, our own emotional regulation is taken care of, we're going to be able to be show up better for our kids, right? So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know, it doesn't mean that, look, I mean, it'd be great if we could go to the spa all day and do that, but sometimes it might be just like taking 5 minutes and walking outside, getting some sunshine. It might entail just talking to a friend, putting
Hmm.
on your favorite song, just listening to music that you just love. But understanding what it is that has you feel, nourished a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
make sure that you're well fed, making sure that, like, that's one thing. I think parents often sacrifice their own well-being to the
Yes.
detriment to actually their own parenting and their relationship. So that's one, is your well-being is vital to the relationship. And the other thing that I want parents to know is that you're not lacking anything. You actually already have everything you need. You've got your voice and you've got your body. If you just learn how to use them, and maximize your body and your voice for connection,
Yes.
and that's what my course does, then you don't have to go out. There's no like special tool you need to go. You don't need to, buy a certain ball or a certain game. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to like take them to Disneyland every day. Like,
Yeah.
really, what all of us want and what we craved as kids was our parents' attention and attunement and
Yes.
connection.
Yep. That's so
So
true. I love that message that you bring. I really do. And I learned that lesson the hard way. My self-care didn't happen until much later, and I realized that I couldn't show up for my friends and family if I wasn't, taking care of myself first, pouring into my own cup first, so to speak. So I love that you're saying that to parents because I think that's such an important message. So thank you for saying that. Okay,
yeah,
so do you have a song for us?
I do. I do. Um, so a couple things. One is I think in terms of the well-being thing, and I'll get to the song, is I think that is
Yeah.
especially true for parents who have
Yes.
kids with special needs. Like
Yes.
that's what I found is that for those of us who have kids with special needs, we really tend to neglect our own well-being and we isolate,
100%.
and that is like the worst thing you can do for your own children and yourself. Um, so yeah, so most of the songs in my course are exclusive. So when you get the course, you'll get all these songs. But I do have there's two that are on Spotify. One is the hand
Okay.
washing song. So
Okay.
if you go
That's
the hand
awesome.
washing song by Craig Clark on Spotify or on Apple Music, wherever you stream your things, you can get that. Another one is my song Bananas, which was a big hit at camp that
Okay.
I do. And what's interesting about this song Bananas was I wrote it. I started writing it when my son was real young, and I had the
Mhm.
chorus, and then I wrote the verses like a decade later when my daughter was real young. So both my kids inspired the tonality, the banana song. So those two
That's
are on
awesome.
Spotify. Dancing on Daddy's Shoulders is through my website, parentingharmony.com. But the song that I want to do today for people listening I was really inspired by my son who's on the autism spectrum and a lot of the kids who I've worked with who have special needs,
Mhm.
um, because I think that what I found is that if we can educate people on
Yes.
autism or on special needs, people tend to their best selves tend to show up. There's less
Mhm.
fear and more knowledge and more compassion, more
Yes.
understanding. And that's what I want for kids like my son. I want people to treat him with kindness and compassion. Um,
Yes.
and I want that for everybody. And so I
Yes.
wrote a song called Give and Get to celebrate all of our individuality and to remind us that when you think about it, all of us have special needs.
That's
And
amazing.
right? Some of us need more sleep. Some of us have nut allergies.
Yeah.
Some of us, like we all have something, right? Some of us
Yeah.
are in even the lyrics. Some of us wear glasses, right? We all have
Yeah.
special needs. And if we could be compassionate and grow the compassion in this world, the world would be better for all of us to live in with more
Yeah.
love and joy and connection. So, this is a song called
That's awesome.
Give and Get to celebrate our uniqueness, our individuality, and the things that make us also all the same. And that is the need for connection and love. So,
That's
here we go, a
amazing.
little funky, funky groove for the pieces for my program.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm just going to adjust this so you can see my rocking guitar here.
There we go. That's awesome.
All right. Can you hear that all right?
Yeah.
All right. So, so this song is called Give and Get. It's a little bit funky.
Love it.
Giving and getting is what we do in good times and bad times. Yeah, it's what helps us all get through. Oh yeah, now give and get that high five. Give and get a smile. Give and get a listening ear. Give and get in your own style. Some of us wear glasses. Oh, look at us. Some communicate with our hands. Others read with their fingers. And some need help with making plans. Yeah. Some of us use crutches. Some of us use a chair. It doesn't matter how we move along because we all need love and care, yeah. So check it out. We all work at different speeds, but every one of us, every one of us, every one of us has special needs. I know I do. I said living, living and loving. It's clear right to the end. It's clear right to the end. We've got to live and love our best. Extend that circle of friends. Oh yeah, now give and get that high five. Boom! Give and get a smile. Give and get a listening ear. There's only one of you, so give and get in your own style, yeah, in your own style. That's right, don't try to be like anyone else, because you are unique and special, so just dance and groove in your own style, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was amazing. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever had the privilege of ending a show with a song like that. That is just amazing. Oh my gosh. Craig, thank you so much for your time and energy today. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. For those of you that are listening today, I will make sure that I post all of Greg's information in the show notes so that you can definitely get a hold of him. And he also will be listed on my podcast website as a resource. So please reach out to him. Let him know that we sent you that way. And I wish nothing but the best for you, Craig. Thank you so much. It was such an honor and privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you, Nikki. Really, it was a blast for me. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. This concludes our episode for today. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you'd like to hear from us, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't done so already, or feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like what you're hearing, please spread the word to other families and friends so that we can continue to empower autism families. It's so important and so needed in the community that you're surrounding currently. And feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Until next time, thanks again for tuning in. Keep working on your puzzle, and remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.